You know, brothers and sisters, when we speak about Fatima Zahra, we often mention Fadak. But many of us, we don't really understand what Fadak is all about. We think that it's this land that was stolen from Fatima Zahra, and that's the extent of it. We associate it with a type of oppression. But what is Fadak? And why is it important? We know that in the 7th year after the Hijrah, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, through the heroics of Ali ibn Abi Talib, they conquered the fortress of Khaybar, which was a Jewish fortress. Now, when they conquered Khaybar, the Jews, they had settlements nearby. One of those settlements was Fadak. Fadak was a nearby village. Now, when the Jews of Medina heard that Fadak was conquered, you can imagine that scared them, because Fadak is our Khaybar is our stronghold. So what did they do? They offered Fadak to the Prophet as a settlement, that, you know, don't fight us, take this land of Fadak. In Surah al-Hajj, Surah 59, ayah number 6, Allah says that any territory that is acquired by Muslims without military conflict is the sole property of the Prophet. So any territory that the Muslims conquer using their military force, it belongs to all Muslims. It's public property. But any land that is gained without military conflict is the sole property of Rasulullah. It's mentioned in the Quran. So Fadak belongs to the Prophet. Yes? After Fadak comes under the control of the Prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals Surah Al-Isra, ayah number 26. وَآتِ ذَا الْقُرْبَى حَقَّهَا, and give your nearest kin their right. Jibreel comes. Rasulullah says, what is the meaning of this ayah? Who is the al-Qurba and what is their right? Jibreel says, give Fadak to Fatima. Give Fadak to Fatima. So Rasulullah goes to Fatima and he says, oh my daughter, Allah has commanded me to give you Fadak. Fatima Zahra says, Ya Rasulullah, what will I do with Fadak? The Prophet says to her, it's for you and your children. You know, when we know Ahlul Bayt, they don't care about dunya. Why did Allah command the Prophet to give Fadak to Fatima? We know that in the Quran there's a surah called Surah Al-Munafiqun, the surah of the hypocrites. There were many hypocrites in Medina who pretended to be Muslim but were actually enemies of the Prophet. In fact, some Mufassirin, they say that at minimum 1/3 of those who were around the Prophet were munafiqeen. After the death of the Prophet, what happened to them? Did the earth swallow them? Did they fly to the heavens? What happened to them? They were still there. They were still there. The munafiqeen were still there. When the first Khalifa comes to power, the first order of business, 2 days after Saqifa, they confiscate Fadak. Fadak was transferred to Fatima during the life of the Prophet. She was managing Fadak during the life of the Prophet. She hired gardeners and farmers. It was under her control. After the death of the Prophet, 2 days after Saqifa, they confiscate Fadak. Why? The ahadith mention that Fadak used to generate between 25,000 dinars to 250 dinars per year. It was under the control of Fatima for 4 years. In the last year, because she developed it, it generated 250,000 dinars. The revenue generated by Fadak was astronomical. When the first Khalifa confiscated it, and Fatima gave the sermon, he was about to give it back to her because he had no argument. Because Ayman, the Prophet's foster mother, gave testimony that it belonged to Fatima. Asma bint Umays, who was the wife of Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, who was the wife of Abu Bakr. Can you imagine? The wife of Abu Bakr testified that Fatima was given Fadak and she owned it during the lifetime of the Prophet. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen testified, Hassan and Hussein. And usually when something is under your control, you know, as they say, possession is 9/10 of the law. If I'm sitting in my house and you come into my house and you say, this house is mine, who needs to provide evidence, me or you? You do. It's in my possession. Abu Bakr was about to sign over, to give an executive order to give Fadak back to Fatima. The second Khalifa, what did he say? And this is the line that I want you to remember. He says, how will we fund the army? Do you know what this means? Fadak was producing so much money that it could fund a military budget. That's how much money was being generated. Now the question is, why was it given to Fatima? It was given to Fatima for the same reason that Allah gave Yahya to Zakaria. Zakaria was worried that after his death, his corrupt relatives would use their wealth, the wealth that they would inherit from him, and corrupt the religion of Allah. Fadak was given to Fatima to fund the propagation of Islam after the Prophet, because Rasulullah knew that they will not have a government, and Fadak was supposed to be the parallel government to fund the mission of Amir al-Mu'mineen and the Imams after them. And I'll end with this one final statement, that look at the beauty of the way that Allah works. Allah decreed that the wealth of Khadija would fund Nubuwah, and He also decreed that the wealth of Fatima through Fadak would fund the mission of Imamah.